everyone, and welcome back to Don't Open That Door. I'm Justin, and I'm pretty much some Oakwood. You know what I mean?
I'm Nico, and my go-to combination for my instruments for the wood is roasted maple for the necks, and honestly, just some basswood for the bodies.
Okay.
It's nice and light and sounds good.
I'm Dan, and I prefer teak.
Well, it's no surprise to anyone that today we're reviewing Vampires, a.k.a. John Carpenter's Vampires. And no surprise, this was directed by John Carpenter.
It's no surprise I will be
Here tomorrow! Anyways, this stars James Woods as Jack Crow, Cheryl Lee as Katrina, Daniel Baldwin as Anthony Tony Montoya. Tony Montoya. Anyways, Tim Guinea as Father Adam Guiteau, and Thomas Ian Griffith as Valak. Not to be confused with Valak from The Conjuring. No. Different person. So, we open with Jack Crow and his band of vampire slayers. Employed by the Vatican, the group travel around the U.S. slaying vampires. They're currently in New Mexico, and we watch as the slayers dispatch a nest of vampires with deadly efficiency. Jack is a little troubled by the fact that there was no vampire quote-unquote master at the nest, basically kind of like the progenitor of a nest. But, you know, he discards the thought as he and his... Yeah,
Progenitor? Progenitor. Anyway, sorry.
How do you progenitally say that word?
You got me progenitorily fucked up.
Wow.
I don't even know, man.
You know, progen would be a great word to say instead of procedurally generated.
Yeah, actually, it really would.
Yeah, it would.
Also sounds like a cool, like, I don't know, doom metal band or something. Progen.
True enough. Anyways, Jack's a little troubled by the fact that there's no vampire master at the nest, basically the leader or like big vampire. But he temporarily discards that thought as he and his band of merry men throw a raging party at a motel, which is filled with, you know, sex workers, booze, and all around good times. So we're celebrating a victory. Everything's going good. Nico, slide into the scene and ruin it like you ruined my life.
Wow. All right. I don't know if I'll be able to do it quite the justice that you're expecting, but here we go. Unfortunately, the good times don't last super long because Valak, the progenitor of all vampires, shows up and massacres Jack's entire band, with the exception of his loyal friend Tony Montoya.
Yes.
And the two escape along with a sex worker named Katrina, who was bitten by Valak and now shares psychic, telepathic, other creepy, etc. link with the vampire lord. But Tony and Katrina go to a hotel and wait for Jack while Jack heads off to meet a representative from the Vatican a short while away because the Vatican are really out here in Arizona or wherever the fuck this is, I guess.
New Mexico, but yeah, they're deep in the I don't know.
You know those sacred Christian sites in New Mexico?
To be fair, I think they went there for a reason, but Dan, maybe you can shed some light on this.
Well, Jack meets up with a cardinal who tells him to go assemble a new crew before hunting Valak, which Jack just fucking ignores. And he also signs Father Adam Guiteau to Jack, as, you know, Jack's last priest got pretty fucking murdered. Back at the hotel, Katrina bites Tony Montoya.
What?
So he incapacitates her, as you would, I guess. Jack and Adam show up, and Tony Montoya doesn't tell Jack that he was bitten. Katrina uses her psychic link to discover where Valak is, and the group head out in hot pursuit.
Hot pursuit. Nico knows about some hot pursuits. Hot singles in your area, maybe?
Rules. Wow, okay.
Maybe.
Two different...
Or is it Wu-Tang? Or is it Wu-Tang in your area? Which one?
You already know.
I don't know. Why don't you tell me? Read the next paragraph.
All right. So Jack and his band find out that Valak is trying to locate the Black Cross of Berzier in an attempt to finish the ritual that turned him into a vampire, which was called, I believe, like a reverse exorcism, which I want to talk about that. Yeah. So put a pin in that. So if he completes it, he'll be able to walk in the daylight. Also, he's got a whole bunch of master-level vampires with him. So Jack and crew chase him down to a jail in a deserted town. but the sun's already setting as they infiltrate and begin to dispose of the vampires. Unfortunately, the sun sets and Valak appears, though, capturing Jack and tying him to a cross, pretty much just crucifying him. Katrina also fully turns into a vampire and bites Tony Montoya, seemingly killing him.
Aw, man, things are looking bad for our heroes, but Dan, I know you're a real-life hero. Why don't you go ahead and tell us how this one kind of goes?
Well, it still gets kind of bad because Valak begins the ritual, but Father Gateau goes full-on commando and kills the priest conducting the ritual.
Takes off his pants.
Yep. Got some wood. You also can't keep a good man down.
We'll talk about that.
And Tony Montoya tries a van through the vampires, rescuing Jack in the process. The sun begins to rise and the vampires flee, but Jack actually manages to impale Valak with the Berzier cross and kill him with sunlight. And like literally explode him with sunlight. Like quite literally explodes. Jack and Tony Montoya have a chat where Tony Montoya reveals that he was bit 2 days ago and will be turning.
Oh, shit.
Father Gateau wants to kill him, but Jack lets Tony Montoya go with a 2-day head start in return for watching his back for the 2 days despite being bitten. Tony Montoya flees with Katrina, and Jack and Father Gateau dust themselves off and get ready to murk some more vampires. The end.
All right. Well, we've had a rip-roaring start to this one, but trust me, it's about to get even better. Dan, how does this movie look to you? How does this one look? Real visual like.
Well, the vampires have like jetpacks on them when they like go on the light. They literally like start like they don't just start like catching fire. They literally like shoot fire out of their like limbs and shit. That was entertaining. There was a surprising amount of gore. There was more than I had expected. People get their throats ripped out, and when fucking Valak comes in the beginning, he's literally like he's fucking Mortal Kombating like the whole room.
Yeah, dude.
He kills somebody while his arm is through another person. I don't know if you caught that, but he like, I can't remember how, but he like uses that arm, stabs through somebody, and then uses it to kill somebody else. So there's a lot of gore, but it all looks kind of good.
Okay. I mean, am very much in agreement with that. I will say this movie made me want to take a shower just because it's very dusty.
Yeah.
Like
True.
The scenes are all extremely dusty. We see a lot of, well, I guess in particular the end, we see kind of like a scene of like almost abandoned Americana, so to speak, where it's just like, you can kind of almost visualize that as an apocalyptic town, except it's in regular America, but Valak has taken over the whole town, so it's like empty basically. I like that a lot. I like the design of the cross of Berzier or whatever like that. We'll talk about the ritual later, but I like the design of it at least. And to be fair, I also like the visuals in terms of the weapons they use against the vampires, because when they like shoot someone, even if it doesn't kill them, they still like react to the bullet. It's not like, like no damage. It was more just like, I feel the bullet, ouch, but I'm not going to die from this. So I liked it. But Nico, you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, the sort of like visual aesthetic of video games from the early 2000s whenever they depicted someplace that has brown people.
Yeah.
And they have that just like real overcast orange shadow that goes over like everything. Yeah, that shit's in here. It's 100% in here when they're like anytime they're outside, and it's kind of comical at this point to look back on, like almost charming in a sort of sense, but in all seriousness, I do think that the movie looks good for what it is.
Okay. I mean, I think that's fair. Now, in terms of sound, Dan, where are we at in this one?
The soundtrack is very not horror. It's a Western soundtrack.
Agreed.
If I was just listening to the soundtrack, I would think it was a Western movie. And we'll probably talk about that more a little bit later. But can we also talk about Jack's one-liners real quick?
Oh, no.
Yo, this man has some fucking doozies of a one-liner, bro.
Yeah.
At one point, he's beating up the priest. And afterwards, he goes, let me ask you something. Did you get some kind of wood when I was beating you up?
Like, what kind of fucking questions?
Where the fuck did that come from? And then when he's fighting Valak, I don't know, he's trying to shit talk and he just goes, hey, Valak, how's that 600-year-old dick working out?
Yeah.
And I was like, what?
Yeah, that was random. He's like, how's that working out for you?
Insult. Like, what?
Fuck?
Didn't he also say some shit like, yeah, I bet you'd like to suck me or something? Like,
oh, yeah. He's like, how's that sucking? He's like, you gonna suck like that, huh? I was like, what? Whoa.
Yeah, he's out of pocket with some of them.
Yeah, Jack makes like a ton of homoerotic like jokes throughout this entire thing.
and
Kinda to the-
homophobic.
Yeah, well, I was gonna say that second piece. Probably some of the comments in this film, you know what I mean? Definitely products of their time, for sure. Like, it's
God, remember when we didn't know how much of a piece of shit James Woods was?
I know nothing about this person, aside from the fact that he was in this movie. I'll have to look this up after.
Yeah, he's the full-on shithead.
Oh, really?
Oh,
Damn, I
yeah,
didn't even
I
know.
didn't
See?
know that.
Look at this shit. I didn't even know. So, yeah. But I mean, that's that. Now, Nico, Dan's kind of right in a way. Like, I remember when Katrina and Jack and Montoya are walking down the road, they're literally playing like a
Yeah, it's some real like swampy Delta blues type shit. And hot take, but I kind of think that it fucking rules. Like, here's the thing about this movie and other Carpenter movies, and we're going to talk about that more in a second here. He does like almost all, if not all, of the music himself.
Yeah, he does
and
a lot of
I
music.
just think that's a fucking accomplishment, man.
That's true.
Like,
Yeah.
that's so fucking cool that he actually made some, like, it's not just little jingles and motifs. They're like full ass songs.
And they're good too. Largely,
Yeah.
by and large, they're good. I
Yeah.
mean, the Halloween theme is classic.
Yeah.
Dude, John Carpenter was over here hitting that collabo at Purity Ring like a year ago or something like that. Like, yeah, you never heard those tracks?
What? No.
John Carpenter, Purity Ring, not Purity Ring, fuck me. Oh, not, you can take my hand.
Oh, fuck.
Oh, wow.
Churches.
Churches, yes.
Churches. Got you. Yeah.
Churches for the audience. We're not plebeians, I promise. But yeah, he did it. He did it with them, not Purity Ring. I get them mixed up sometimes. But
Fair.
anyhow, yeah. So music, liked it, even though it might not have been the most horrific of sounds. Now, I mean, to be honest with you guys, though, I think that speaks to genre a little bit. I mean, Dan, do you put this solidly in horror? Where do you put this?
I'd say this is a Western horror collabo. I mean, it's.
Oh, okay.
I would say it's about equal parts horror and Western. Maybe actually leading a little bit more towards a Western. Just happens to be that they're fighting vampires. You get a lot of classic, again, music, or classic sounding music, I should say. There's even like a couple scenes that, I mean, the cinematography, like when, the opening scene when Jack and his crew are going to fight the vampires and they're like loaded up and get ready and everything. I was like, that's a Western. And
It was pretty picturesque, yeah.
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 And Valak gets his 7 other master vampires behind him. They're doing sort of that classic like formation and just like walking towards the screen and shit. Like there's some pretty Western shots in this movie.
You could easily
Agreed.
make an AMV out of this movie also.
You
Yeah.
could.
They even, not that this is, I guess this is more action movie, but they even did like a Jack blows up a building and walks away as the building like,
Yeah.
explodes in the background.
So, Nico, what'd you take from this? You know what I mean? Like in terms of genre, are you on the same line with Dan?
I'd say so, yeah. I classify this as like a Western underworld almost.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like in terms of just vibes.
See, the funny part for me here is this movie, I think. So, when did Blade come out? I think
This is a lot like Blade, yeah.
Well, I think Blade, just the movie itself, came out in 98. So did this.
August 19th, 98 is when Blade came out. Hold on.
So the two of them came out around the same time. I mean, it doesn't really matter. You know, these movies get in production forever. So, but I do think it's interesting that we kind of have two very similar vampire slayers where, you know, they're both kind of stoic. They both have like one close friend, but they don't really fuck with too many other people. And
they both have one-liners.
Yeah, they both have one-liners. Motherfuckers want to skate uphill.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I thought that's very interesting. I mean, I do feel like his getup a little bit kind of reminds me of Ghost Rider, John's, whatever the fuck his name is, Jack Crow. And I don't know. I liked it. I like the aesthetic as well. And I do think that it fits pretty solid with a Western, actually. When I heard Dan talking about it, it definitely takes a lot of elements from that. Even, I mean, the movie, it ends in kind of a weird way, but I mean, Montoya rides off into the sunrise instead of the sunset, but
yeah,
that's kind of how he exits. So I like that. Now I want to start talking through some vampire lore here. And I mean, I'll leave this up to the table, but this kind of took a more hardcore approach with vampires. It actually cut back on some of the things that got added into the mythos. So for example, garlic doesn't necessarily work. You can shoot them all day. They don't die. The only surefire way to kill vampires in this is staking them and sunlight.
Staking them through the heart, specifically.
Yes. And on top of that, I mean, he even goes through when he goes, Jack, to go back and get his crew who's been slaughtered by Valak. He actually stakes them and chops off their heads just to make sure they don't come back, like in the original Dracula novel with Lucy. So,
do you think you could do that?
Chop off your head?
If you were in that position, like you had to, like for 17 other motherfuckers.
So I'll say this. I think Jack and
not
Montoya,
just mine, because I can tell by how quickly you responded to that. Answer there.
Well, so this would be my thing. I don't think I'd necessarily have it in me to like chop out your head. I think I'd probably stake you and burn you. I think that'd be enough personally.
Yeah, fair. Also easier, less work.
Maybe drag you out into the sunlight just to make sure. But regardless.
Could you do it, Dan?
I don't think so.
Respect.
This is the thing though. These dudes have seen some shit. And part of it is, so Montoya doesn't treat Katrina too good at the start of when they first go to the hotel and such. But part of that, I'm not defending all of it, but part of that is because he and Jack see people who've been bitten as you're not human anymore. Like you're not a person anymore. And I think that probably helps to a certain extent when it came to Jack, having to stake everybody. He's like, this is just my job. Like, these are not people anymore. They were my friends and I owe it to them to give them a proper burial, make sure they don't come back as vampires. Because there's also that element to it, right? It's like you're doing it for their benefit.
Yeah. And on the sort of other side of that, Jack is just also kind of an asshole.
He is a jackass in the best of ways, but he is. But how'd you guys feel about that? The fact that guns don't work, even despite they shoot the shit out of them. They still bring guns everywhere they go. They don't work. How'd you guys feel about only stakes and only daylight being able to kill them?
I liked it, man. I thought it was invigorating and just it took me aback when I saw just within the first 10 minutes, this vampire just absolutely gets lit the fuck up like it's a scene from Rambo or Predator or something. And that just took me off guard, and it made it a little bit, maybe it's a little immature because it's lots of guns shoot fast, go boom, make good, yes. But I thought that made for a fun time in that moment, and that whole just the pace of that, I think, carried throughout most of the movie, if not all of it.
Fair. Dan, your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I kind of enjoyed it. I also think that stakes didn't really work. Do they actually kill anybody with a stake? Because I think
one person, because they did stab, I forget, somebody they tried to pull him, but they couldn't pull him, and they stabbed them up a bunch. Yeah. I specifically remember Jack being like, die, 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 you bitch.
Yeah.
And just fucking
there are a few scenes where he's like that, to be fair.
Yeah. But I feel like they stab a lot of vampires, but they still drag them out into the sun, and that is what actually kills them. Like those vampires can last a lot of stabbings before they
They
die.
do.
Yeah,
I don't know.
True.
One thing about that, though, is they don't properly stake any of them. Like, they stab them, but they don't, like, hammer in a stake like you would need to do to properly kill a vampire in some cases.
He tries.
He tries.
Is stake a verb or a noun in this case? Both?
Yes.
Do both conditions have to be fulfilled?
Both.
I mean, I think it's more just that you got to be stabbed through the heart, and that's what immobilizes you. And then the sun does the rest. But
I feel
I'm
like
not
if
a
you matter, I think they're struggling so much that it's real difficult to like actually stake them where you need to stake them, because like sometimes he stakes them in the shoulder and
Yeah.
shit, and I think that is just to hurt
And this
them.
One dumb motherfucker tries to stake him in the forehead.
Yeah, and he rips it back out. Well, I have one other last topic of vampire lore here. So here we have something that doesn't acknowledge Dracula as being the progenitor of, vampire kind as it is. Instead, we have what's known as a reverse exorcism, which was done to a former priest of the church who rebelled against the church with a big C. And as a result, they did a like reverse exorcism on him, which I guess would put a demon into you. Because they specifically say the Catholic Church created him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See, this whole part of the movie, I just kind of like chose to ignore, like not think about.
Fair.
And yeah, I don't know. And when they
Because
started
what the
doing
fuck is a reverse exorcism?
I don't know. When they started doing this whole ritual shit, I was just like, all right, okay.
Yeah.
Like, are they talking backwards? Is the devil on the other side of this, like, reading a completely different book, like, things people hate or something?
I thought...
Is fucking Missy Elliott going, like, reversing the lyrics? Is that why it's reverse?
So what I thought it would be is, and this is, like, really trying here, so Valak basically rebelled against the church, and I think he might have wanted immortality at some point, I don't know. But they basically put vampiricism into him because
Accidentally?
Yeah, I think they were trying to fuck him over, and they accidentally.
Oops, I accidentally a vampire.
Oops, I accidentally made you immortal. Cool.
But they didn't finish the ritual and left a way that he could be killed, which was sunlight. Like they left that in there, so that's why Valak was trying to finish it, and that's why he needed the cardinal, who we didn't say it in the summary, but the cardinal betrays everyone and wants immortality because he's old, and old people want immortality. But that's when Father Guteau says, yo, guess what? And just like shotguns him from the rooftop. So, yeah. Yeah, that'll make sense, I'm sure.
So I feel like the church could have just killed Valak and then we wouldn't have a movie.
Pretty much. Now, real quick, I want to ask, having seen a smattering of John Carpenter's other things, how does this compare to you from some of the other things you might have seen from Carpenter? We've seen, At the Mouth of Madness or In the Mouth of Madness. Always forget what it's called. The one with Samuel. Thank you. And I've heard rumors of a movie called The Thing, which you might review on the podcast at some point. But
certainly not.
And obviously, Big Trouble in Little China is one of my personal favorite movies of all time.
I forgot he did
Absolute
that.
classic.
Yeah.
So where does this kind of fit in with you in terms of John Carpenter stuff?
Well, I mean, this is nowhere near the end of horror like we have with Halloween or anything. Like, it's very, very far removed from that. But I think it's more of something that you watch for a fun time, kind of similar to Big Trouble in Little China, although less grand in scale, and the protagonist is significantly less likable than...
Yeah.
But I feel like sort of similar, though. I mean, I feel like Jack is just like an asshole version of, what's his name?
Jack.
Oh yeah, it is Jack. Yeah.
I would say that
John Carpenter has a type, and it's Kurt Russell.
Yep.
Yeah. But I would also say that this movie maybe just isn't up to, and I don't know anything about the specifics, but The Thing came out in the early 80s, and Big Trouble was also, I think, in maybe like, 84, 85, 86, somewhere around there?
Something like that.
So I think we're kind of getting away from like the real big heights of John Carpenter here. And I think this movie didn't look like it had the budget of some of those other, other films. Not that John
Yeah,
Carpenter,
certainly not.
not that he was ever blessed with like a massive budget or anything like that, surprisingly. But yeah, and I remember reading that this one was a success, but they needed to bring in the international money before it really became a success. Like just in the States, it didn't really do so hot. And it's interesting because I agree with you, Nico. I don't think it's like up there, but I do think it's it's worthwhile. I thought. But do you guys have like a favorite character or scene in this movie?
I think my favorite character actually might just be Valak. Just because this motherfucker literally leaves a portrait of himself as a calling card, which the level of flamboyance here, I cannot. I love it so much. But particular shout outs to Cheryl Lee's performance as Katrina. It's good to see her as a Twin Peaks fan, and it's nice to see why she's often considered one of the more underrated scream queens of the era.
Okay.
I would put her as my favorite character. Even though she didn't do a whole lot, like most of the time she's like in a, not trance, but like drugged state.
She has
almost.
so much charisma, though.
But yeah, she does it really well. And also I feel like there's times where I like Montoya, but then I remember back when the beginning of the movie when he's just a shithead. I'm like, oh, well, he's not my favorite character anymore. And it's just like, I feel like almost every other character has shit that I don't like, but she just gave a really good performance, I thought, and doesn't have any dislikable
She was
parts.
probably the best person out of everyone in the movie.
Yeah.
Come to think of it.
Yeah.
Until she turns.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's not her fault.
No, not her
Yeah.
fault. But
Tony Montana being a shithead is just his fault. He's just shithead.
So you know what's funny though? So you know how he's kind of like a shithead at the start, and then he gets really nice to her and like falls in love and shit. I wonder if that's not him falling under her sway because she bit him.
It has to be.
I wanted to ask y'all about that because it takes 2 days to turn into a vampire. She's not a vampire.
Right.
So, and she doesn't have fangs.
Right.
So,
But yeah, I don't know. He had mentioned something to her about like what he calls like the virus of like traveling through. So maybe like the virus is like in her.
Yes.
And like
they even
contagious
say
or
in the
whatever.
movie they aren't sure if it's a virus. That's just what they call it.
True.
Yeah. I tend to agree with Dan's line of thinking. I think so. Here's the thing, right? So more than 2 days pass, or I think of maybe 2 days pass or some shit like that by the end of the movie and him getting bitten, right? He says it.
Yeah.
And he hasn't turned. He also hasn't like shown any kind of like psychic link. He doesn't display any of the signs that she has when she turned or started to turn. But there's also the fact that she was bitten by like literally like the biggest vampire lord in this universe. You know what I mean? So obviously her turning is going to be much different from his.
She's got a clean bill of health at the end of the movie, though. Like, the master who turned her is Dunzo.
No. So in actuality, you know what the funny part is? According to vampire lore, do you know who the master of the vampires is now?
Who?
Her. She was bitten by the master vampire, turned, and now the master is dead.
But I thought that, oh, wait, no, it's you have to kill the vampire before
they turn.
The master before they turn. Yep. Okay, never mind. You're right. Shit.
So he like left with like essentially the vampire queen at the end of that. And I don't think they realized that. They were
for them. Good for them.
He was like, yeah, I'll give you 2 days. But that was interesting.
It's like the bad ending of Catherine. Or the bad ending.
True. My favorite character, to get back to it, is actually the priest, Father Gautier, because I thought he started off as kind of like idealistic almost and gets the shit kicked out of him a couple times.
Gets some wood at the end too.
Yeah, he does. By the end, he's like kind of a badass. You know, he's got the shotgun ready to shoot Montoya, and he's like, let's do it. And he's like totally about it. And him and Jack are going to be the new pair. And I like that. I'm also kind of a sucker for like the badass priest archetype. You know what I mean? on some real.
Can we talk about this scene really quick between the two of them where Jack goes in and he's like, you know what? I'm going to beat the living shit out of you if you don't tell me the stuff that we both need to know that will help us with our mission. And he's just like, I'm going to play really coy and just get the shit. Why wouldn't you fucking tell him?
Yeah, that's fair.
There's no reason for this.
I would have just told him.
Yeah.
And, well, I guess speaking of what we would do, it's time for the what would you do? So, let me ask here. If the three of us were kind of in like a vampire hunting group, let's say, what would each of our roles be? And we'll do the thing where the two people talk about the one person. So, Nico, what would we say about Dan? What kind of slayer would Dan be?
I don't know. I think he would be the Tony Montoya.
Oh, you think so? Like the loyal guy?
Like the loyal guy, yeah.
Would he be the one out there pulling the van to like reel the vampires outside, or is he going to be in there in the brawl?
I'm a good driver.
I think he would be the driver, yeah.
That's fair. He'd be on the radio like, all right, guys, listen, this is what we got to do.
Setting all the sound shit up.
Fair. So next, Dan, when it comes to Nico now, what kind of vampire slayer would Nico be?
I don't know. I feel like he would be. I feel like he'd have the crossbow.
The crossbow
That would
to
be
shoot
his
them when they
weapon.
so they get
Yeah.
dragged out.
Yeah, I feel like that would.
Fair.
I
be
fuck
him.
with a crossbow. I fuck
He
heavy with a
does
crossbow.
fuck with crossbows. I
Yeah.
know this. So yeah, it's fair. It's fair. And we didn't.
There was a
talk...
with in that sentence, just to be clear.
Yeah.
And I guess last and somewhat least, myself, your boy Just. What kind of slayer would I be? Do you think?
You'd be the dude
You're-
staking the person through the head.
Oh no.
No, I'm just kidding. No, you know too
No,
much.
dude,
vampire.
you're like the brown, way less shitty version of James Woods.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what I should be for Halloween, bro. I should be this dude from fucking Vampire. I would literally just have to wear blue jeans and my leather jacket. I don't think there's
Yeah,
anything
that's
else
it.
you'd have to wear.
No, not really.
Yeah.
But yeah, all right. Fair enough. Would any of us kind of fulfill the priest role, do you think?
I feel like that would be Bonner.
Nah. Yeah.
I am God.
That shit we bought for him from the start.
Yep. Fear me,
Incredible.
for I am God, or whatever that was.
We bought Bonner as a joke. We went to like this really hardcore, like fundamentalist Christian store, and we got him like a Bible, like a powerful Bible verse or whatever, so he could like on like engraved in like wood, and it was like "Fear me, for I am God," and he like bust out laughing when we got that shit.
I think I
Anyway.
see it in the basement too.
Yeah.
like, post it
He
up
has
down
it. He
there.
has it up by the windowsill still.
Yeah.
He cracks up every time he looks at it. But it's time for the fucking critic review, right? So what do you guys think this movie got? What do you guys think this movie's at?
I'm gonna say a 78.
All right. Nico, what are you going to say?
I shit you not, and I'm not saying this because it's one different, but like when I was watching Netflix, it said 77% chance that you would like this.
Oh.
And I think that it's about at like a 77. But just to make it fair so Justin doesn't split his wig, I'll say 70.
No! Damn you! All right, fine.
Split his wig.
Fine. Okay.
What
Yo,
the
Nico,
fuck did I do this
Nico,
time?
you better start up a fucking fortune telling ring, bitch, because this movie got a 42% from critics
Wow.
on Rotten Tomatoes. Got a not much better from the audience, 47. Am I aggro? Yeah, because Nico stays winning. Bruh, stop
I
winning.
mean, he won, but
I-
still pretty fucking far off.
Yeah,
was-
that's
no.
not really
No.
much
He
of a
still
difference
won.
I mean, won by
77 or
technicality.
78 and 70.
He still won,
he's
bro. He
closer
still
than me,
won.
but
Nah. Now I gotta fucking jump out of a corner in your house or some shit like that when you're not expecting, all right? So anyways, that's the prize you win for winning all this time. So, all that to say, this one got a pretty low score from critics, and I'm calm again. So, we gotta ask ourselves, why? And what would we do? What would we give this one? So, who wants to go first?
I don't know why it's that low. Like, we've seen other movies both from this decade and in this genre that are way worse that got higher scores, I'm sure.
Yeah, exactly.
But I am going to go with my Netflix match and give this a 77. This is something that is kind of actually really dumb when you talk about it for more than like 5 minutes, but it was really enjoyable and I liked the characters as much as I feel like I could have in a movie like this.
Agreed.
I'm gonna say, give it a 68. I thought it was all right.
I feel that.
I didn't think it was great. The Western part of the movie, the Western horror mashup, was interesting. I feel like I would have liked it done a little bit differently, but there was also like, we didn't really talk about it too much. We kind of touched on it, but the whole like Tony Montoya and Katrina dynamic was like real domestic abusey
At the start,
for like a good 20
absolutely.
minutes, and it was kind of weird. There were things that just kind of fell flat for me, but overall, I still had a generally okay time watching it. So 68.
So
yeah, actually, I kind of forgot about that part myself. I'm going to drop mine down to a 72 for that.
So I'm gonna say for me, I'm actually coming in ironic at a 75 because
Wow,
I think
color
the
me shocked.
movie is largely
So much.
enjoyable. Like it kind of is, aside from obviously the parts you guys are talking about. And you know, when you really get down to it, if you want to see some vampires and you want to see some vampires get murked and you want to see some vampires do some murking, this is the movie for you. Like, literally, it's a pretty good movie. Is it the best one in this genre? No. Is it all right? I thought it was pretty all right. I thought it was pretty decent. So now, would you recommend this
And if
one?
you like laughably bad one-liners, this is absolutely
Oh,
the
yeah.
movie for
Yeah,
you.
yeah. Like the
Mhm.
constant wood, the wood jokes, bro, is unreal in this movie. But
Would you believe it?
James Woods really got some shit to work out.
so, would you recommend this movie to somebody?
See, I don't know. Because I want
Aw.
to say no, because if you want to watch a vampire movie, there's a slew of other better ones, but they're all very different than this. This is not a normal vampire movie.
No.
You know, it's not like an Underworld or
Yeah.
Blade, or, you know, the vampires are very different. So for originality, I say, yeah, I think it was an interesting mashup that, again, was generally enjoyable to watch.
True shit, true shit. I will also recommend it, if for nothing else other than just the bitch and cool soundtrack.
So, I'm actually not going to
Hmm.
disagree with what you guys
Wow.
said.
Ah,
And I'm
Oh,
going to go ahead
wow.
and I'm going to go ahead and recommend this one.
wow.
Yeah, threw you for a loop. It's fucking vampires, bro. Are you kidding me? A movie would have to be true shit for me to not recommend
That's
it if it was
true.
a vampire-based joint.
Yeah.
I forget what I gave Underworld, but I hope I gave this one a fucking higher rank. But anyways,
This one higher than Underworld?
yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
So. Remember what we said about that movie?
Well, yeah.
Vampires
True.
can't see with the lights out and shit.
Yeah.
I forgot about
Yeah.
that dumb shit. Oh my god.
Remember the dude with the whip and the wolf?
Oh my god.
Okay,
Bro.
yeah. Now that you remind me, yeah.
Is a
That
flashing
movie's
back.
so dumb.
So anyhow, no, shoot the floor with your pistol so you can go down a fucking
You
level.
go like 12 floors.
I forgot about all that. I just remembered the aesthetic. you know?
Oh my god. Yeah,
Yeah,
literally.
Literally. Agreed. But in any case, if you like this movie, or if you don't, or if you want to hit us up on social media and tell us we're cowards for whatever reason, I don't know why, you can do so. We're on Twitter and Instagram at DOTD Horror. We're also on Facebook. Just don't open that door. Plus, you can check out every episode we've done on our website. That, of course, is dotdhorror.com. But till then, take care of one another. Look out for yourself. And as always, dear listener, don't open that door. Bye.